Last meeting? Thank you. Seven o'clock, if you'd rise, remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball. All right, good evening. Hopefully we missed the storms here and get everybody out in time. Before we get going, I do want to make note that we did have a Danville Town Council work study at 5 o'clock. We struck 2 of the 4 items. We talked about an RFP for IT and discussion of appointment of the fire chief. And we have approval of the minutes for August 5th. Do you have a chance to look at them? Any deletions, corrections?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for August 5th.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. First on our agenda is appointment of the fire chief.
President, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Rob Roberts as the next fire chief for Danville, Indiana.
All right. I have a motion to appoint or make an offer for Rob Roberts to be the fire chief. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Of course.
Hi. I'd like to say that I think we should postpone this appointment till the new council gets in January. Everything is running fine now, and I think the people in January may have the same feeling or a different feeling. So I postpone it.
We have gone through a long process. We've taken interviews. We formed an interview committee. They came up with 2 candidates. The council members interviewed, and I think it was a fair process, and we gave everybody an opportunity to interview in front of us. We had 2 very qualified candidates, and I will leave it at that. So we have a motion on the table and a second to make an offer of employment to Rob Roberts for the fire chief. Let's do a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Jim?
Yes.
Tom?
Thoroughly object.
And I vote yea. So the motion passes 3-1. We will make an offer of appointment to Rob Roberts for the fire chief. All right. Moving on. Chamber of Commerce contract.
All right, with you, Mr. President, I'm just going to bring my stack of stuff with me here because I'm going to be in front of you for a while tonight. Before you is the 2020 agreement between the town of Danville and the Greater Danville Chamber of Commerce. This is much earlier than you've normally received these types of agreements. In speaking with the clerk treasurer, we have found that, or we believe that these should be done during budget time and not wait until the first of the year. That way, we have a better idea of the expenditure, and the bodies that we deal with have a better idea that they know they're going to receive funding for the next calendar year. This agreement was drafted by Amy Comer Elliott. It really pretty much stays in line with previous agreement we had that was dated, I just don't know when. Do you remember when? 2009, so 10 years ago. Not a lot's changed. The dollar amount's the same as you provided last year. It does provide them with a guarantee of 1 year inside the current office that they're in. And again, these things can all be subject to change by either party, but we just felt like this is the time to do this.
Okay, that's $45,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the wishes of the council? Should we accept this 2020 agreement between the town of Danville and the Greater Chamber?
I make a motion to approve the Danville Chamber of Commerce 2020 contract.
Motion approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Further discussion? Does this meet with the chamber's approval? We good with this? Okay. Any other discussion?
The date on here would be effective when?
January 1.
Okay, we need to change the date on this front page.
Yeah, because it says 2019.
This just shows that you're entering into the agreement today.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all we're asking is that you enter into the agreement today.
19th day
Yeah.
of August.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, any other discussion?
And it is paid quarterly, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anything else? All of those in favor of accepting the 2020 agreement between the town of Danville and the Danville Greater Chamber of Commerce signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Okay, thank you.
The next item that comes before you is an agreement, a 2020 agreement between the town of Danville and the Downtown Danville Partnership. Again, this is dated today's date because this is when we're entering into the agreement. In going back through records with the Downtown Partnership, we have found there's been no contract that we could ever find. The partnership would appear before the council, ask for X amount of dollars. You all would approve for them to have the money, and then there was absolutely no follow-up afterwards. So with Amy Comer Elliott's agreement, I took the contract for the chamber, cut it down quite a bit for the partnership, and that's what you have before you. They're requesting the same dollar amount, which is $80,000 for their calendar year. And again, everything's pretty much cut and dry. It does take effect January 1 of 2020.
And was our clerk treasurer in favor of this particular?
She is the one that actually encouraged us to try and get this done because of the budget process.
Any discussion? What's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve the Danville Partnership 2020 contract.
Okay, I've got a motion to accept the 2020 agreement. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? All right. We've agreed to that.
Mr. President, do you want to allow time for those that were in attendance for that portion of the meeting to leave?
If people would so desire to do so, please.
Thank you. I know we're a good Friday night draw. I just don't know how we are on Monday nights.
We're about 20%.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else want to leave? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Mr. President, will you be signing these out of your packet, or will you, at the end of the meeting, would you want me to have these come through for all signatures, all the
Sign them off
business?
of my packet.
It's your call. Yes, sir.
Whatever's easiest.
It's easiest if you've got them up there, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see you guys in the back.
All right. I'm ready whenever you are, sir.
I'm ready when you are, sir.
Tonight, I bring before you an ordinance 28, 2019. This is an ordinance to amend our current phone ordinance, or our cellular telephone ordinance or allowance. The office manager in my office, Malin Heron, has gratefully and graciously taken over the social media aspects of our webpage and Facebook, and she's doing a ton of postings, and she's utilizing her own data plan to do these postings. So I'd like to offer her an ability to be on our phone stipend to help kind of maybe mediate some of those costs. I've put her in as a level 2, which if you look, that is $42.50 a month or $19.62 biweekly. I've talked with Malin. She's good with these numbers. She's very grateful that we're offering up a phone allowance.
And the clerk treasurer is good with this?
Clerk treasurer had helped us draft this ordinance.
Okay.
This will require a suspension of the rules if you want to pass it tonight.
How do you feel? Do we want to deal with this tonight?
Suspend the rules.
Get a motion? Is that a motion?
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
I have got a motion to suspend. Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 So the rules are suspended. Pass this if it's the pleasure of the council.
I make a motion to amend the phone ordinance.
All right, I've got a motion to accept ordinance number 28, 2019, to amend the ordinance 15, 2019, an ordinance of the town, Danville Town Council establishing a cellular telephone allowance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we've got a,
Thank you very much.
adopted that.
Next item I have before you is a resolution, Resolution 14-2019, a resolution providing the transfer of appropriation between major budget classifications. This comes from Superintendent Whitaker with the Public Works Department. He's asking to transfer $2,000 from 571-137, which is the uniform allowance, to 571-380 for other services and charges to ensure that the account has sufficient funds to make it to the end of the year. The clerk treasurer is good with this transfer.
Okay. Questions for Ray? It's a pleasure of the council.
I make a motion to approve the Resolution 14, 2019, funds transfer for the Public Works.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the resolution. Do we have a second? Got a second. Further discussion? Thanks for being fiscally responsible. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 14 passes.
Mr. President, I'm going to take a brief intermission while Superintendent Lofton presents his piece. Thank you.
Remember I think it was last year, the water department and the sewer department did their asset management program with Banning. And in seeing what that did for them, I had intended to do that at the same time, but the cost of some of the needs in the town. Every year it seems like I have a plan to do something and it gets changed because something fails. This program not only will help tell us about what is actually in the ground, but it'll give us direction as to what we need to focus on for repairs. It is a program that's going to be possibly a 3-year program. We want to start out the same, close to the same cost that the water and sewer did. However, stormwater has much more points, and we're not sure. It's not real accurate actually how many we have, but I think it's close to 2,200 if you add the two together. So that's 1,000 more points than water or sewer. So it's much larger, much more vast, and it is probably older than their system. So with that being said, I'll let Mark with Banning Engineering take over the presentation.
So just a brief synopsis of what this would look like is exactly what we have for the sanitary and the water system is that a member of the Banning staff would go and locate the storm manholes one by one throughout the town and take a status or an inspection inside, take measurements, how deep are the pipes, how large are the pipes, and what condition is the system in. And that data will be recorded on a GIS database that is intercompatible with the sanitary and water system. So you could see them on a single map layered on top of each other. The equipment that we'll use is at the same accuracy level as those other systems, and so we're targeting a 2 to 4 inch horizontal location. And that's important because that helps us determine what slopes the pipes are and therefore what capacity they have. So that's important that we get really accurate like that. We understand that over 2,000 points could be possible in the system. We'll get a better idea of what that number really is as we go in this phased approach. And we're excited to get started, and we'll open it for any questions you might have.
When did you anticipate starting?
We could start as soon as in probably 2 weeks from now.
And how long do you think this will take? Knowing that, once you get in, it may be 1,000 points is
Yeah.
or more, right?
It could be more. I think it's less, but we will see how it goes. I think this first phase would take us probably through the winter and into the spring, but it just depends on how many points we're able to locate in a day, if they're covered over, the condition of them, are they full of debris? Do they need to get cleaned first? All of that is to be determined. Just like we did with the sanitary sewer system, we'll work with Barry here and the camera that they purchased in order to kind of augment our abilities there. Do it as efficiently as possible.
And what kind of?
This first phase, we're asking for $60,000. If we were to do the entire 2,200 points, it could be as much as $165,000 at the very end. But that is a big number, and
That's a big number.
It may not. Yeah.
That's why I was kind of holding off, and we wanted to do this in phases, and we want to focus on the downtown because that's the oldest infrastructure. So we want to see where that kind of takes us. That's why we're kind of doing this in phases. We do have growth. We do have increasing revenue. So if we do this in phases, it's not such a big hit. And if we did have a major failure, we would still be able to pay for it with the cash that we have in the stormwater.
And you've got the 60,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's not an issue.
And I've talked to Jenny twice over this over the past 2 years.
Okay.
I haven't talked to her in the last two or 3 weeks, and this kind of ramped up. There are sufficient funds. There's about $450,000 in the
Okay,
cash count for
so
stormwater.
doing the whole big number is doable.
Yes.
Didn't want to commit us to a path and then all of a sudden,
We could complete it right now, but the goal was to see, because there's conflicting reports from our maps. You know, we combine 2 maps and there's different numbers. So one is to ensure accuracy with our maps. These will be shape files, and we can use these with beacons so that we do want people to know where our system is. So in case they're doing construction, we want to know it's there. There's also going to be some mapping that the locators can use, and now they'll be more accurate to locate storm pipe as well as sanitary and water. So it's helpful in more ways than one, but the initial hit was, since I've been here in 6 years, I've always had a goal to do this, and then every year I've got to jump around to do what fails instead of moving forward. This will really give me an avenue to a focus downtown, because we're going to know what kind of condition, that the structures are in. That's going to tell us, a whole lot. If you remember, we did Tennessee Street, Indiana Street, Columbia Street, and Wayne Street in a huge undertaking, which we know that mapping's correct. However, the actual maps haven't been put together, and we did change some things. So I'm sure of what's there. I'm just not sure. There's some other items that I want to focus on that goes right through the heart, and it'll affect some properties. I need to look into that and see what kind of condition that is, because those are going to be, if those fail, they're going to be very costly.
How old are your maps? How
Pardon
old are
me?
your maps?
The last time we did a map update, I think, was in 1990, whenever they, and then they did an update whenever they created the stormwater utility in 2009. But it wasn't detailed, giving us the type, size, depth. It wasn't detailed. They were just points on a map. It doesn't tell us anything as far as what's there.
How long would phase 1 take?
Like we said, we think it would take, it kind of depends, we're not really sure, but thinking at this point, probably around 4 months to do phase 1, something like that.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Be really luxurious.
It's going to be really helpful, and it really ties all the utilities together. So now we can look at one map and see water, sewer, and storm on that one map.
any other questions?
On the money side of it, I know you have decided you have the $60,000 to spend out of your budget this year. And I know you've worked on the budget for next year. Do you still see the same $60,000 in the progression to expend that next year?
Yes.
In light of what you know may or may not happen next year?
That's a tough question to answer, simply because, it depends on what happens. I'll give you an example. At the park, we have a structure that's got to be replaced this year. It's a 12,000-pound structure. That project alone is probably going to be $20,000 to $30,000. So if we had several of those happen, there could be an issue with spending that $60,000 per year, but this gives us an option to just start here. Next year, we may skip a year. With the growth, I'm trying to figure out what's coming in and the revenue that's going to be increased. If everything was to hit, we may see an annual, and this is an estimate. This is not, a guaranteed income. With the projects, developments that we have, we're probably going to see an increase from anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month.
What
So
increased revenue do you see next year? Where does your revenue come from? Is it not in the budget?
residential, it comes from commercial, it comes from the new developments that, that we have in the
Coming on board,
pipeline now. Basically, this is driven by the water meters, and outside of the water meters, we have Four Oaks subdivision, which we build them independently of water and sewer because we do not serve them water or sewer. So there are unique situations where our sewer department doesn't reach those areas. However, they are annexed into town. We do get stormwater revenue from those developments.
What do you anticipate increase in revenue percentage next year?
I'm going to say 3 to 4% of our current.
What's your current?
General revenue per year is around 180,000 to 190,000.
You got a little room in there.
Well, and it really, it just depends on what gets completed. There's quite a few commercial things, and those are actually the ones that generate the most revenue for the stormwater department. Each home is $6 a month.
Any other questions? All right, what's the pleasure of the council? Shall we go down this rabbit hole and start finding all of our points?
I
Absolutely.
make a motion to approve the stormwater assist management program.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve this. Do I have a second? I have further discussion. All in favor of doing this, and Barry's got the money, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, let's get going. All right, now we have police for the next half hour.
I'll probably take this if it's all right with you.
Fine with me. Okay.
Okay, so tonight comes before you several ordinances that were brought before you at the last meeting for first reading, and now come before you for second reading and approval, if you choose to do so. First ordinance is number 22-2019, an ordinance regulating vehicular traffic and parking on public sidewalks.
All right. It's a pleasure of the council. Any discussion on this?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 22, 2019, parking and sidewalks.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion?
Has this been a problem,
Yes, sir.
a major problem, for a number of years?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's why we're trying to make some fixes.
We've not had an ordinance for this sort of thing
sir.
previously? Okay.
Hopefully we can enforce it.
Right. Some of these are amended ordinances and some of them are
Okay.
new.
Any other discussion? Get a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next ordinance before you is ordinance number 23-2019, an ordinance amending sections 90.2, 90.4, 90.5, 90.6, and 31.3 of our Indiana Code of Ordinances. This deals with alarm systems and the Ordinance Violations Bureau.
If I remember correctly, this was in the case of someone making a false alarm.
That's correct.
Not an accidental alarm.
That's right. There are provisions for accidental alarms as well.
Struck out the fines part.
Right.
I see.
There's been some changes in them, yes, sir.
Any questions from the council? Well, what's the pleasure of the council on ordinance 23?
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 23, 2019, alarm systems.
Motion to approve ordinance 23. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion? Hopefully, we don't have to visit this ordinance too often. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 23 is passed.
Next ordinance that comes before you is ordinance 24-2019, an ordinance prohibiting vehicle parking outside of lines or markers established by the town. Again, this was up for first reading August 5th.
Okay. So this one, more like improper parking than it is actual being late.
That's correct, sir. We've had some issues with a vehicle taking more than one parking spot. We're trying to prohibit that.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 24, 2019 for parking.
All right. Motion to accept ordinance 24. Do I have a second? Second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All of those in favor of making people park in between the lines signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I just have to boil it down to the simplest.
Next ordinance before you is ordinance number 26-2019, an ordinance amending section 35.02D of the Danville, Indiana Code of Ordinances. This is our fee schedule and general administrative fees. We're just trying to make some fee adjustments. I assure you, this one's going to come back before you, probably maybe by the end of the year. It could be for the new council, but we're going to keep looking at our fees, to be honest with you. But this one's going to fix some problems right now with the police department.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If it's not going to fix some problems, I'm not going to deal with it.
No, sir.
But if it is going to fix,
This is fixing some current problems, and I've got some future ones for you. Wait a minute, that didn't sound right.
I like your spirit.
Yes, sir.
Not necessarily the message.
Message received.
All right. We have ordinance number 26, correcting some fee problems. What's the pleasure of the council on this one?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 26, 2019 for fees.
Thank you.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second? A second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of passing the ordinance 26, 2019 for fee corrections for the police department signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. We got our fees. We're almost done, folks.
Last ordinance I have before you is ordinance 27-2019. This is to amend the salary ordinance 25-2018, which is the 2019 salaries and other compensations for officials, employees, appointees of the town of Danville. Basically, what you're seeing in here is we took the verbiage of assistant town manager from the planner position. They were attached, so we removed that. We created a position of office manager for the administration, which is my office, and then we removed the office coordinator title from Public Works and made it an administrative assistant.
Okay. So we have ordinance 27, 2019. What's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 27, 2019, amendment to 2019 salary ordinance.
All right. Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Just a reminder to the council, before you leave here, there's a lot of things to sign. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Last on our list is a topic of speeding vehicles. Is Sherry Presley here? Hi, Sherry. Thanks for coming. Thanks for your letter. Okay. For the record, if you state your name and your address.
Sherry Presley, 626 West Mill Street. I've been a resident of Danville for 16 years. I bought a house here and with the intention of living here forever. And I noticed that speeding in town has become more of an issue as the town has increased in size, which makes a lot of sense. And I'm here to propose that you initiate the steps to get a traffic study done. It's my understanding that the last one that was done was in 2005. And at that point, they saw 20,000 vehicles per day, and that was at urban 39 and 36. That was 20,000 vehicles per day in 2005. They also said at that time that they were talking about rerouting 39 away from North Elementary, and perhaps aligning it with Mackey Road to ease some of that congestion, and the date of that completion was 2010. That was the intended date of completion. So before the traffic study, I mean, I think that's ultimately what needs to be done. I would ask that they address and enforce speed limits, especially in the cut-through streets like the center of town, which include West Mill Street, Lincoln, Mackey. I do want to thank the police department. Last week, they did a enforcement. In 1 hour, they pulled over 19 vehicles on 3 streets. I also would ask that they clearly designate and mark school zones, because I don't think that they're clearly identifiable, and 39 runs 1.6 miles through the middle of our town, and the speed limit's 30, but we all know that most people don't go 30. And even at the time of that study, it said that the signage was 40 miles per hour, but the average rate of speed was 35. And I would also like to identify, and that could be wrong, I don't know, identify and correct some of the inconsistent signage. I know on my street, there's signs that say 20 miles per hour, and then there's signs that say 20 miles per hour when children present. Children are present most of the time. We've sold probably 8 houses in my area in the last year, and children have moved into many of them. And then the last thing would be to add and improve and correct pedestrian and handicap accessibility. I know there are some intersections, corners where there's not accessible ramps. Some of the concrete is torn up or they've never been completed. And then also just, I think going forward with the upward trajectory that we're seeing in population growth, to keep up with some of the other counties, I think we really need to focus on improving pedestrian accessibility. I think it would be lovely if you could walk from Dollar General to the other Dollar General or Los Patios to Los Patios. But I think with...
Actually, that is pretty funny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But with Hendricks Regional Health, you know, being like sort of our main employer perhaps in this town, and then having a women's shelter and a work release center that I know employs the McDonald's Kroger area employs some of those people. I just feel like that's such a dangerous intersection. I see people walking there all the time. So I think it's an overall problem, not just with speed, but just accessibility and traffic. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Do you have any questions for Jerry? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the comments, and what we will do is we'll pass these on to the appropriate departments and have
Okay.
them take a look at that.
All right.
I will tell you that our food and beverage tax, one of the key features is to go
Yes, I
towards
saw that.
sidewalks. So
I
we
know.
are heading in that direction, just not as quickly as you want us to, but we're
No,
working
but I
that
did
way.
see that, so I was like, yay, 1%. So,
It helps. So y'all go out and eat
All right.
that tonight.
yes, I will. Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to department reports. First up, water.
Evening. The progress on we started the water project on 200 East a couple weeks ago. We're approximately 25% completed on that. Right now, the reason why it's going a little slower, we're doing most of the directional bores, and that kind of slow process, putting that together. But once we complete those, it should go a lot faster, the open dig, like that. And if you notice, we've got the painting of the water tower. See the guys dangling from the top? I'm still waiting for Tom to come out, and we'll put you up in the elevator. Get you going, do like that. But hopefully, I was talking with those guys today. We should be completed probably 2 weeks. That's what they're looking at. Weather oriented. These guys work 7 days a week. On the weekends, if it's raining, they're inside doing that type of stuff. I talked with the Hendricks Regional Health today about the location of the signage for their shield. We're going to look at a study of what it looks like as you're coming in Danville. I know a few years ago when we painted that, I got some grief about it was not proportional, wasn't exactly north-south. It's usually line of sight. Typically, if a stranger is coming into town, need to go to the hospital, and you get about approximately at 200, whatever that angle is, that's where you're going to see first. So I've talked with them. I'm going to let them make that decision of that proximity on that, and then their other emblem will be 180 degrees opposite of that. But everything seems to be going pretty good, and the inspection's well, and hopefully have that completed. Usually once it's painted, we'll start filling it slowly. Once it's full, we have to do back T samples, and then we'll put it in service. So like I know we caught some grief about draining the tank, about the timing and everything. Pretty much same time last year when we did the other tank, we just didn't advertise it. And you know, that's why we have pumps and got another tank to keep water going. We're not going dry, and so we should be okay. That's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
All right.
Barry?
I received my flow monitoring report, which is a piece of our flow modeling and master planning. So I'd like to bring Banning in on September 3rd to present that report to you guys. Should just be a few quick slides and not take much of your time, if that's okay. And that's all I've got.
September 3rd, by the way, is a Tuesday because of the holiday. Show up here Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire Department.
Good evening. We completed our countywide big box commercial training last week. All three shifts completed that in Avon. That was at the old Cubs food store, the furniture store there. Training went very well. Retired fire chief from Phoenix was one of the instructors at the training. The new air packs will go in service within the next 2 weeks once the shifts has completed training. Yesterday, touch a truck at the airport. The crews went out there for an open house. Said there was quite a few people there. Total runs for July was 173 runs. So far for August, we're at 83. Total runs for the year, 1,110 runs. So that's all I had to report.
Any questions?
The 173 typical?
Pardon me?
Is the number 173 typical of the number of runs?
It's up a little bit because July for the county fair.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Planning.
Evening. Just wanted to report, in the last month we've met, Plan Commission has met with subdivision control amendment. However, it didn't get approved because they continued it. There was some stuff that was left out. So you'll be getting that in the near future. The BZA, they approved a variance for an accessory building. We had 5 applications before the Design Review Committee, 3 of which were signs and 2 signs and 3 facade renovations. Let's see. We've had a couple of meetings with people that are interested. Talked to someone about the Danner's lot in the last week, and there's definitely interest there, possibly a restaurant. So they're actually seeking to see if the town of Danville would assist in any way for parking. So we had a little bit of discussion about that. That's all I have right now.
Questions? Not gonna open.
When's what?
Los Patios, sorry.
Those
Post
patios. I don't know. They had an inspection today, I believe. But
2. He's sitting back there smiling.
is he hiding?
Yeah, they had one thing, one item.
Yeah. And
I'm
actu-
asking for my seniors, not myself. They're getting hungry.
How about old diesels? When does that open up?
They are working on that. I don't know if they've applied for the permit yet, but they did go through the design review committee and made some adjustments in their plans based on the committee's comments. Get a permit yet? Interior surge? No? So,
Diesel's is 20 West Main. That's actually, from what we understand, is the possibility of a Greek pizzeria. 16 West Main, which is the business, obviously just to the east of that, is where the restaurant you're speaking of. So they're actually, believe it or not, there's two different addresses with two different restaurants.
However, the Surge Restaurant's got the entire upper floor, so
So wait, there's 3 restaurants there?
two,
So there's
The-
going to
where-
be 2 new restaurants there?
right, where the
Where Diesel's used
Diesel's
to be.
was is gonna be, we hear, a pizzeria, a Greek pizzeria. Then just to the east, the next space east of that is where Surge is gonna go in, but they have the entire upper story over
Steakhouse, right?
Diesel's, yes. Yes.
On the roof?
Well, they'd like to do that at some point in time.
Is it 3 or 4 stories?
Two occupied stories,
2 occupied stories, okay. But it's a
Yeah.
3-story building.
pretty much. You look at voids.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
If I had a fire there, we would consider it a 3-story building.
Okay, that'll work. Stormwater. You're gonna do us for 60 grand and then a large number, but we'll talk about that later.
That it's going to help the town out a bunch. It's also going to help me out too, as far as repairs, because they seem to come faster than what I expect. So it's getting really busy with construction. Faith Baptist Church is, I think the steel was dropped off today, so you'll see some erection of some red iron, gray iron, green iron. I'm not sure what color it is, but you'll see some steel going up there. The Justice companies, they're really moving quite fast out there, moving a lot of dirt. I think they're about 75% done putting the retention ponds in. We met with them today and talked about permits. So they're ready to start pulling permits. So Jim, Jerry, and the building department will be getting some tap fees and some building fees here real soon, which will be good for the town. We've also I've had 10 new single-family residential for this month, and then I've got 5 more sitting in the office that need to go out the door. Camden Creek, my understanding is they're going to start, moving forward with that. That's on 300 East. They're still working on the new subdivision that connects to Four Oaks. Trying to put everything together for the water department, for the town of Danville to serve water there, which will be great for the town. And then we have several storm projects that are kind of underway. We're trying to finish a lot of them. With the rain, with the on and off, it's kind of hard to get finished grade done. As I mentioned in the park, that project, we're going to have to move pretty soon on it because it's starting to fail again. We've patched that thing 3 times this year, trying just to get to where we get the structure and get everybody in place, because we're going to have a crane to set that, and getting everything timed out just perfectly. The logistics of it's kind of tough there. But now that the pool's closed, it'll be a lot easier for us to get in there and take up some of Will's parking space there. But that's a huge pipe. We did talk about a pipe out on East Main Street. It was brought up this morning in a meeting that we had. Superintendent Roberts mentioned to me, and I have reached out to the county. I've talked to, I'm sorry.
Familiar with that.
That's how I know him. That's how I remember Rob. That's the way it'll be until I die. Fire Chief Roberts. I can say that now. So,
He hasn't accepted. So interim. Let's be specific
Okay.
here, okay?
Candidate Roberts. Okay.
Candidate,
Whatever.
that
So
works
anyway,
too.
I'll shut up here. Okay. But yeah, there's quite a few projects. We have one on Park Ridge that's active. We have one on Lincoln Street that's active. They're everywhere, but they're coming to a close, and we're starting to wrap up. It's a good thing because the building is starting to ramp up. So I think it's going to be a busy winter, and I look forward to it. It's going to be good for the town. That's all I have.
Any questions for Barry? Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works. Circle around.
I'm short. We have been doing our daily watering the flowers, taking care of trees, patching holes, so on and so forth. Some of the big projects that we have worked on here last couple of weeks is getting a driveway put back together for the water and storm water and sewer department, finishing up a project for them. We've cut some trees down, and we actually got to work a concert and get it in over the weekend. Any questions?
Thank you. Well, I've just been informed that I skipped over the police department. My apologies.
Good evening. Enforcement highlights for the month of July. Calls for service were 716. Case reports for 57. The arrests were for 46. And OWRS for the month were at 2. Investigation highlights. There's 12 follow-ups and 13 DCS cases. Record highlights, accident reports were 6. Incident reports were 6. Gun permits were 7. Background checks were 6. Fingerprints were 175. Transient permits were 13, and vehicle releases were 15. That's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you.
If you're unfamiliar with the flash that just appeared before you, that's Brent Allison, detective with the police department.
All right, back on schedule. Parks.
For you, we have projected amphitheater. We've been working on this for a while. We've narrowed it down to 2, and this one seems to be the park board's favorite. We're still working on exact price, but it does look like it comes with the Beatles, but they are extra. So this is what we're looking at. Pretty similar basic structure. Has some cool lighting to it. I don't know if you've been to the evenings in Ellis, but they've been a huge success, averaging about 400 for a crowd for each one. We're going to upgrade the steps, adding in kind of like the ability to have weddings and stuff there too. We're going to upgrade some of the concrete. We're going to have a ramp onto the side. Once we get a little bit more detailed in there, we're going to talk to the fire department too and make sure that they're okay with all the standards for the what is it, the fire marshal. So that's pretty much it. I want to keep it simple. Pool was great this year. I thought we were behind 10% about a month in, and then we ended up being above 10%. So we did really well this year. Conserving on staff really is the best way to do it, try to run real tight. But we do have some safety items that we want to upgrade for next year, so I'll probably be coming to you with like a list of things that we think need to be improved just at the pool. And that's all I have.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything from legal?
Wait.
Well, never mind. Go ahead.
I heard that you get in with the boys and you work on weekends.
Do I?
I heard you guys swap around on the weekends to do stuff?
Yeah,
Pick
we
up
do.
garbage and that? And you're part of that?
Yeah, we do full rotation, 6 weekends, and all the staff, full-time staff, well, 4 of the full-time staff rotate in on weekend shifts. So
That's commendable.
it keeps me humble.
You're,
When you want to yell at the maintenance guy for doing something, then you realize that like, hey, it's a tougher job than what you think it is. You know, there's a lot to it, and doing the routine things is really important because it's what everyone sees. So,
that's good style.
thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Legal, anything? I know you weren't on the agenda, but
Not on the
you're sitting there
agenda.
and you're fair game.
I'll just say this, you probably won't hear this very often from an attorney, but I have nothing to say, so.
Thank you. All right, around the horn, town manager. Thank you. Give it to Jim, we'll start down there.
Right spot.
All right.
Couple of things, sorry, real quick. I have been asked again this year to serve as the chairman of Ames Public Safety Policy Committee. I've served on the committee for several years now. I was chairman last year, and I was honored by Mayor Denny Spinner to ask me to serve again this year as the chairman. I'm looking for a council consensus that you're okay with me doing that.
Absolutely.
Great.
Anyone object? Beautiful.
With that being said, next Monday I'll be leaving for the AIM conference. Normally it occurs. Normally I wouldn't have to.
See that coming.
Yeah. Normally I wouldn't have to leave till Tuesday, but since you've allowed me to be on their board of directors, I'll be leaving Monday night. So
Okay.
that's all I have, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Public comment, anything from the public? Come on up, your name and what do you do? Yes, the lad in the back.
I would be honored to accept the position that was offered tonight as the fire chief.
Thank you.
Hey, being the former fire chief, if I can present you with your first fire chief badge.
Thank you.
Right. Anything else from the public? Claim docket.
Make a motion to approve the claim docket.
I have a motion to approve claim docket. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Claim docket is approved. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Drive careful tonight, folks.